I started talking to God again, and then I was brought to Manifestation Circle.
Yeah.
I remember just looking and just being in awe. Like every single woman had a glow on her that I just didn't understand. Like the person that brought me had a glow, and I had to ask them, like, girl, what is it
that you
what
doing?
is different? Because you are glowing.
Right.
And she never said. She never told me.
And then one day
she just invited me.
I'm gonna put you on.
Yeah, she just invited me somewhere, and I went, and I was like, oh, this is it. Like in my head, I knew this is it, because I was just like, everybody in here glowing. I didn't know these women. I didn't know you. And was just captivated by like the stories and the growth and the, you know what I mean. And I left there like, I want some of that, whatever that is over there. I want some of that. Yeah,
Right.
225 moments where his glory shines. Yeah.
Welcome back to 225 Moments with me, MNicole. Friend, I am so happy that you're here. This is a space of empowerment and encouragement inspired from the Bible verse Joel 2:25. Well, God promises to restore years that the locust has eaten. And on this channel, you'll find stories of God's restoration power, where he's taken us from loss to abundance. And on this episode, I am so excited to have a guest with me today. We're going to talk about when you get out of your own way and you go on God's cruise control, okay? So the guest I have with me today is Ayshia Editone, and I'm so excited that she's here. I like to say Ayshia is all things. She is all things under God. She's a real estate agent. She's a 2-time author. She just launched 2 books, keep me honest. And so she does a lot of other things. And she's also a Manifestation Circle sister. So I'm super stoked to have her be on the podcast, on the show today. So Ayshia, tell us some more about you.
Well, thank you for having me. She is correct. I'm a real estate agent. I have done that for about 2 years. I did just publish my second book, which is called Letters to Him. The first was Dear Black Woman.
Yeah.
Both kind of from my own life stories, if you will. But I've also been in supply chain operations for like 24 years. And so she's right, I'm kind of all the things.
All the things.
All the things. I modeled. Now I'm just kind of like she said, on cruise control, just going where I feel like I'm being led to go.
Awesome. Now, I want to, ask you, when it comes to God's cruise control, tell us a little bit about what life was like before you got into this alignment and focus. Like, in order for you to be on cruise control, you got to be on the highway, right? So tell us what it was like when you were on the highway driving. What was that like? Getting on the road, and I'm talking about life. I'm giving it to you an analogy, but what was life like, even like before you changed and got on the road to being in alignment and, surrounding yourself with a good environment?
I had a good life. Keyword good.
Okay.
I didn't have a lot of struggles. Like life was good. I always had these moments where I would feel like something was tugging me, but I didn't really recognize like what that tugging was. And, sometimes it would be like a feeling like, do this or don't do this. And sometimes I listened to it. Sometimes I didn't.
Yeah.
When I didn't, it kind of did like this. And then I decided, you know what, I have to improve my walk with God. I had these moments in my life where me and God, well, I was beefing. He wasn't beefing with me, but I was beefing. I was beefing, I lost my father. And so I really didn't understand because, you grow up in church and they're like, God got you and all this. And I'm
don't
like,
question God.
Yeah, don't question God. But God, this don't make no sense.
Yeah.
And that kind of put me in I kind of stopped going to church. And, I knew God was there and things like that. But I disassociated a little bit. Or as old church folk would call it, I was backsliding something terrible. But then, I was like, at some point in your life, you always go back home.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what happened. Moving here to Georgia, definitely put me in a space where I was like, I didn't have nobody here.
Right.
And so it was just me and my now ex-husband, and then he became the ex-husband. And so it was just like, what am I doing in this place?
I saw lifing. You
like super lifing, because it was just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And I found myself in a place where I was back talking to God, because what else am I going to do at this point?
Right.
My friends ain't down the street. I don't know nobody. And I work from home. So I'm completely isolated. So every weekend I would find myself doing a moving back to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And then, slowly but surely I started talking to God again. And then I was brought to Manifestation Circle.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I remember coming, and I remember just looking and just being in awe. Like every single woman had a glow on her that I just didn't understand.
Yeah.
In fact, the person that brought me had a glow, and I had to ask them, like, girl, what is it
that you doing?
What is different? Because you are glowing.
Right.
And she never said. She never told me.
And then one day
she just
said,
invited me.
I'm gonna put you on.
Yeah, she just invited me somewhere.
Yeah,
and I went, and I was like, oh, this is it. Like in my head, I knew this is it, because I was just like, everybody in here glowing. I didn't know these women. I didn't know you.
Right.
But I was listening and was just captivated by like the stories and the growth and the, you know what I mean? And I left there like, I want some of that. Whatever that is over there. I want some of that. Yeah.
Right. And so oftentimes when we're like getting on the path, you think about a trailing of a car. Like you saw someone that was glowing and you said, wait, where they going? Because I want to go where they're going, right? And so you got on this path and you're driving. And tell me, like on the path, what was it like the journey? So you got on it, everything's, it's the same car, right? But it's a new path. It's a new you. You're trailing in an environment where you feel like you're going in the right direction. Where was there some, am I wiggling or am I staying straight? Like, where was there some moments on that journey that you just felt like, I question things. Am I doing it right? Am I glowing? Some of that.
There was a lot of that. Starting in general was a lot of that. Like I had just been laid off. I was like, I don't know that this is the direction I'm supposed to be going. I need to be doing, this, that, and the third. This is what I'm telling myself. But it really was like a leap of faith. You know what I mean? Like I was torn. And then once I joined and I started, again, I wasn't like completely enthralled. I wasn't opening up, talking to people. It was still just me and my friend.
Right.
But I'm in a group of people and I'm like, hey, y'all.
He's calling friend, like, girl, did you see the assignment? Because I don't know. I need to figure out, am I the one that need to be doing that too? So you was kind of in the background, right?
Exactly.
But you still wanted to stay on this path because you saw the results from that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I feel like the people you surround yourself with definitely tell you where you're going. I can't think of the name of the song, but it literally says, show me your friends and I'll tell you your future. And that makes me think of what I call the rule of fifths. You put me around 4 millionaires, I'm going to be the fifth. I'm going to, because they're going to level you up even though they don't know they're leveling you up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the Manifestation Circle did for me. I already had it.
Yeah.
But the energy with all of us chasing the same thing, it just magnified what I already had. And it made, like I never had low self-esteem or anything like that. I always believed in myself, but it made me believe in myself 10 times more. Like,
oh, that's good.
I can do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, they doing it, I can do this too. It's, and so I would say that for me, the most tugging moment was trying to figure it out, like trying to, get quiet and understand what I was really doing and where I was really going. And the moment that I wrapped my head around the fact that it really is just me praying and asking God for what I want and asking him to order my steps so that his will be done. Because I understand that it's not always what I want, what I think I want, or what I think is best for me.
That's good.
I need him to align me to where he needs me to be. And once I figured that part out, because I would say my first 8 months of the group was lost. I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm showing up. But once it clicked,
it's gonna fall on me.
Yeah, like it's gonna click eventually. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when it finally, it didn't click till I opened up.
Yeah.
And then when I finally opened up, I've been going at warp speed ever since. That doesn't mean that I don't have moments of trial. It doesn't mean that I don't be treading water sometimes, but I do know that in those times of me treading water, it be me.
Yeah.
That's making me tread.
Well, I kind of sense that to be, let's just kind of tap into it spiritually. When you say when I open up, you know what I see spiritually? I see when I surrendered. Right? Because
good word.
it's a part of you that still want to control the narrative. Like you're saying to yourself, oh, I got this. I'm going to see what this is about. That way, if I'm driving in the car and something go wrong, I can swerve it over to the left and I can just get out this lane, right? But it was when you surrendered control and you said, all right, God, I'm going to let you walk this out. And in that control, you open up. And also the surrendering puts you in a place of vulnerability.
It did. Me and
right.
Anybody who knows me knows I will say me and vulnerability do not go together at all. It's just not a space I like to be in. I don't. I can help others through their moments of vulnerability, but me and mine, we wasn't vibing.
Sometimes vulnerability is kind of like that space where you kind of like, do I really need a shot at the doctor? You can't give me no pills. Do I really need a shot?
That gonna hurt.
Right, because it's gonna hurt. It's gonna sting a little bit, but when the medicine go in and it starts to work, then you feel better and your body is better.
It's like a burden is lifted.
Yes, it starts to work. So I think that alone is like the best analogy when you think about it, right? Like it's like a shot. Let me ask you this. On your journey, were there signs in your life that you were holding on to control this whole time? Did you feel like things were happening to you because you were holding that control?
Yes. I feel like I can look back in the moment. Obviously, I couldn't see it.
Right.
But I can look back now and I could be like, I knew good and well I was supposed to go left and I went right. Like that tugging I was talking about was telling me to go left and I went right. Because I didn't exactly know what it was. And it was like, okay, maybe I'm just scared or maybe I'm trying to talk myself out of it. And the crazy thing about that tugging is even though I went right, at some point I went back left because that's where I was supposed to go to begin with.
Yes.
And like the easiest way for me to translate that is like I actually started real estate school when I lived in Florida 7 years ago. I've been a real estate agent for 2 years. So 7 years ago I started real estate and then, we find out we're moving and all of these things and I'm just like, I'll just finish later. And something was telling me, go ahead and finish in Florida. I would have had my license in 2 states instead of 1, right? But I didn't finish in Florida. And, I've told you this. I had a dream that I was on a billboard. I didn't know why. I didn't know for what. I didn't know where. I just, every now and then I would think about that billboard. Like, I'm supposed to be doing something that's supposed to put me on a billboard. And then I'm, got here and still didn't go back to real estate school for some time. And then I finally went and I passed the class, couldn't pass the test. Now, I was going through a lot. I was going through a divorce. I just became an empty nester and I'm trying to focus on school. Bad plan for anybody.
Yeah.
And so I realized that the reason that I ain't never failed a test in my life, but I realized the reason I kept failing that test is because in that moment I wasn't ready. Because my focus wasn't fully there. And so when I ended up going back to real estate school, so 3 times in real estate school before I actually succeeded and got the license. And then, I started and maybe 7 months in, I got approached by a different brokerage than the one I was with. And as I was I'm looking at their little PowerPoint and the very top benefit was a billboard. I said, that's where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
And the second I went there, I started closing deals.
Wow.
So I knew that's where I was supposed to be.
Right.
And like listening to that voice, like I have stopped fighting that voice, even if it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because what I find is when I go to the right and it's telling me to go left, I'm going to come back left, whether I want to or not. So I just know to go left now.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the new age cars, right? You got those sensors. I be driving because I'm in control and I go over just a little bit and the car move me because it'd be like, you touching it.
Yeah,
it's kind of like
my
that.
part is that it go no.
Yeah, like get over there.
Get over there. What you doing?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good. And so I want to kind of rewind it back to the part where you talking about that you did the test 3 times, right? Because I believe there's something that you can share around that, because I think a lot of people go through these phases where they test it for something to be qualified or for to have a certification or whatever that is, and they miss the mark, right? So tell us about the journey of having the faith to retest again and knowing that God, you got me. And the 3rd time was the charm, but tell us about the process from the first one to the last one.
I ain't gonna hold you. It was a hurtful and discouraging process.
Yes.
I'm not a quitter.
Yeah.
And so not passing that test, and when you don't pass it, they tell you how many you missed it by. Not passing that test and missing it by 3.
Wow.
Was devastation.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, are you kidding me?
Right. 3 questions.
3. And then when I went to take it again, I missed it by 1. So I cried in the car. Like, I called my mom, boohoo crying in the car.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this ain't what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, there's no way this is where I'm supposed to be. Because really, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've studied, I've done this, I've done that, I've paid for these cram courses, but my focus still wasn't there. And again, hindsight is 2020. I didn't realize that my heart and my focus still weren't there. It was just me being mad that the test defeated me.
Those heartstrings and the focus go together. They brothers and sisters.
They are,
right?
and you don't think about it you think about it in reflection.
Yeah. You
don't think about it in the time, in the moment. And I try not to be like a spooky person, but I passed. What's really crazy about me passing the test, remember I was mad at God about my father's passing?
Yeah.
I actually passed the test and got my license on my father's birthday.
Wow.
And so for me, it was kind of like full circle, you know what I mean? Because I almost didn't, the only day they had available for the next month was my dad's birthday. Wow. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, I didn't want to do, I'm usually emotional on that day. I was like, absolutely not. And I went anyway, because I was like, but then I gotta wait a month, and I've been studying, and I've been this, and I've been that. Yeah. And again, I walked out of them doors with that piece of paper, just a crying.
Yes.
And I text Ashley, and she was like, I'm gonna need you to go ahead and just take a video of how you feeling right now.
Yes.
And I was like, what? She
Capture
was like,
it'll make sense later.
And so I just sat in my car, and I was just like, y'all, like, I was talking to, but I realized in that moment, not only was she telling me to capture the moment for me, but also, capture the moment no matter what I did with it, hopefully it would touch somebody else.
Yes. I said it all the time. You are a blessing to be a blessing. Yes. Right. And so it's funny, because in the beginning you was like, God, I'm mad at you because my father passed away. And then the 3rd time, not only did he do it, but he did it on your father's birthday.
Which obviously made me feel like I hear, one thing I do for my daughter is I write her what I call, mommy's voice letters.
Memoirs, yeah.
Every year on her birthday, she gets a letter from me.
Yeah.
And the reason why I do that is because the one thing I always wanted was another conversation with my dad. So I feel like when I'm gone, my daughter won't have to worry about that. She can go look at her wall and figure out which part of my voice she needed to hear.
That's good.
And so on that, definitely on that day, I felt like, you know what I'm saying? He was there with me. I did. And I was excited and I was happy, and I realized that it needed to happen on that day so that I could have something happy instead of the he's gone, lost feeling, if you will.
Right. That's good. That's real good. So the surrendering 3 times the charm, then he didn't just restore.
Yeah.
He multiplied.
And
right. And he multiplied your faith at that same time. Tell us about the walk after that. Like, how was this like such an awakening with God, and what was your walk like?
Still baby stumbles. I was still baby stumbles. Not because I didn't have faith, not because I didn't believe, but I was not consistent with my prayers. I wasn't consistent with my gratitude, my thanking. I wasn't consistent with anything having to do with what I'm supposed to be consistent about as it pertains to my walk with God.
Yeah.
At that point, I was doing the Bible app, the Bible in 365 days. I was doing it with some friends, and this is the second year we did it. And then, so that was August. And then, moving forward, it just kind of got, that calling was getting stronger. And then I'm in my Bible, and I'm in my journal, and I want to go I'm doing these things like volunteering and giving back has always been something really, especially to the veterans. My parents are military. So I'm doing these things where I'm helping people. And the more I'm doing that, the more I don't want to say I feel better, because I didn't feel a way, but the better I felt about me. Like, I know I'm supposed to be giving back and, helping and volunteering when I can. And so all of these things are coming, and I'm not even recognizing that these are the things that I'm supposed to be doing. Like, in that moment, I'm not recognizing. I just know that I go feed the homeless, and I know, you know what I'm saying, that I'm donating here and there, and it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And then I will say it wasn't until last year, so basically almost a year later, that my walk really kind of solidified. And it was really like, I realized that the decisions that I make that I don't consult God about don't go the way that I want them to go. We may get to the end result, but it be, I needed to be like this. It be all the way around, And so once I realized, like, it don't matter. I have to put God in it and ask God to help me figure it out, because it's, A, it ain't in my time, and it's in His.
That's right.
B, it has to align with His will for me, because I might think I want to do this, and it'd be like, you ain't supposed to do that, and that's why it ain't working. You know, no matter what I throw at it, it ain't working, because I ain't supposed to be over there.
Right. It kind of gives you a bit of, I'm in my own way, but I'm either gonna listen or I'm gonna suffer. One of the two.
Baby stumbles. I did a little bit of both.
You're going to listen or you're going to suffer, right?
Yeah.
And so there you are, you get on this path now and you're cruising, right? When did you recognize that this is a God thing? Like, beyond the fighting and the tugging, because when you fight and tug, you're going to still hear moments where you have to deny your flesh, right? And say, all right, that's not God. This is a God thing. And I know this is a God thing, and I'm going forth to that. When did you recognize that confidence to say, boom, this is God, and this is the way I'm going, and listen, nobody's talking me out of that?
It's actually funny. It's something that you said to me, and it probably had a reverse effect of what you thought it was going to have.
What was it?
Like, I remember being on a manifestation talk, and I remember saying, like, I have been in Georgia for 6 years, and it seems like every 2 years I get laid off, and I have never experienced anything like this in my life. And you was like, stop saying that.
Yeah.
You was like, stop saying that.
Yeah.
And right before you said that, we were talking about, like, my job going away again. And you were like, but you knew that. You felt that months ago.
You felt that tugging.
And you didn't move.
That's
so
right.
That's what you get. That's literally how you said it. And I was like,
don't say it. Nothing I said. That's what you get. I'm about to say,
because you was like, you were supposed to move your feet months ago, and you knew it.
Listen, sometimes that tough love is good because it sticks, right?
It does. And it did. Because I was like, she right. I said 6 months ago that I was thinking this wasn't going to work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I passively thought about it.
Yeah.
And I didn't do nothing to change it, even though I knew it.
You had a whole fresh updated resume I gave you. I said,
I did.
Here's the resume.
And that's why you told me that's what you did. But what that, for whatever reason, and that's why I say it probably had the reverse effect you thought it would.
Yeah.
What that told me in that moment, because I beat myself up the rest of that night, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, you did know, and you can't, how you feel away, because you did know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What I didn't know, though, is what I was supposed to do. Because regardless of what it looks like today, in that moment, it was like, I ain't got no job. It doesn't matter that I'm a real estate agent.
Right. I got to figure it out.
Right. It don't matter that, I'm an author. I ain't got no job, which means I don't have no check coming in on a day I know it's going to come in that's going to take care of me.
Yeah.
And I probably ain't been more calm in my life.
See? Talk about the
I-
talk about it. Tell the people.
At first, I was
Yes.
having them little moments, and now, you know, it'll be like, well, how I'm gonna do this because I don't know, you know what I mean? And then I'll just pray about it because I'll be frustrated or scared, or I wouldn't really know, and it'd be like, God, what I'm supposed to be doing right now?
Yeah.
Am I supposed to be applying for jobs? Am I supposed to be writing another book? Like, what am I supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
And something will just fall in my lap.
Yeah.
And you know how you it's cheesy, but you know how they be like, the check is in the mail and this, that, and the third, and you don't read all your mail, you don't be thinking about it, and it'll be something like that. I'll be having like a frustrated day, and I'll be cleaning up, and then I'll come across a pile of mail I ain't went through, and it'll be a $700 check in there.
Come on now.
Like, what is going on? You know what I'm saying? Like
why you ain't
like
checking
it's
this
been
mail?
sitting there. You know what I mean? But I ain't read the mail.
Yeah.
So it's those kind of things, and then it just be like, well, God got me. And you know, sometimes when you hear other people speak about you, like my daughter, you've met her in real life.
Yeah.
She was freaking out that I didn't have a job.
And
you know,
she
because
was
was like, how we gonna pay the bill? Because
right.
she is a professional daughter.
Right.
Okay, job or not, she is a professional daughter. That is
like,
her.
I want to put no extra money over here.
Exactly. She's like, and she told me about a conversation she had with her boss, because she was like, oh my God, is there anything that my mom, you know, can we hire my mom for anything? Like, you know, I didn't ask her to do that.
Right.
But she go to work because we was in the same industry, and she's like, is there anything we could hire my mom for? Because if we don't find her a job, she gonna move us back to Colorado. She was like, and I just got promoted. I don't want to.
You don't want to go back.
Yeah.
Right,
and so, you know, they go on this mission to trying to find me a job. And then the next day, she realized that she didn't have to worry. She just had a moment of panic. Yeah. And she went to work, and she told her boss, don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
She was like, sometimes I forget my mom is one of God's favorites.
See.
And when she tells me this, because I don't even know this is how you see me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when she tells me this story, she was like, and I told him, but she'll be fine. We always are. But sometimes it's through the story of somebody else that you realize that you always are.
Right.
Because that ain't how I was feeling.
Right.
But
it was a good
right.
reminder.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and then to see your mini me tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean, she's the one who spends the most time with you.
The most.
So she has to know God favors you, and she knows that, you know, God would definitely make a way. So you're on this path now. You've relinquished control, and you are allowing God to put you in, you know, cruise control where He's driving, right? The jobs are gone. You are solely on an entrepreneurship path. Tell us about the cruise control part, because when you're on cruise control, it reminds me like of these cars nowadays, these new tech cars, the ones that you can get in and the car drive you somewhere, and
which is so scary.
Right. And no one is in the front, right? And so you're like, oh my God, is it going to take me to the right spot? How does it know? How does it know to turn? How does it know to get another lane? How does it know traffic is coming? So we talk about how big God is, right? But let's talk about how big your faith is on this ride. Like, how would you describe your faith, and what was your posture like, and still is, right, on this journey where God is in cruise control?
So I would say that warp speed. And because I feel like I'm traveling at warp speed, sometimes I don't know. I just don't be knowing, you know what I'm saying? But I would say that my faith has definitely grown. My relationship with God became not negotiable. I'm still not, you know, I don't consider myself a holy roller, or, you know, more holier than thou or whatever. But I definitely know that I have to consult Him. I have to include Him. And above all, I have to thank Him. Because He provides. He provides, and I let Him at this point. And I used to fight it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, again, those who know me know I come from a long line of pastors. My granddaddy had a church. My granddaddy had a church. All my uncles and aunts and deacons.
So you know the word.
Yeah, I do.
It's singing.
And but I know the word. I'm not one of them people who can quote you the exact scripture, but I know it's in the book. And we can argue about it. It's in there. You know what I mean?
Right.
I may not know where it's at, and we may have to go look it up, but I know it's in there.
Right.
And so I definitely find myself leaning more into my Bible and leaning more into what I'm going to call I think everybody interprets things different, but I think my interpretation is that this book guides me to be a good person, to be good to other people. And so I try to follow that, you know what I mean? And the more I walk, the more closer I get in my walk with God, or the further I should say, the more I realize that there are things that don't serve me anymore. And people, I tend to recluse, and I know that, you know what I'm saying? And I know I got to stop that sometimes. But because, like, I should be outside networking and doing these things. I ain't finna get out of this bed. But, you know, I know that some things don't serve me anymore. And I notice myself just doing things on my own, like, you know, not drinking and not, you know, just things that were prominent in my life. You know what I mean? Like, you go out, you celebrate, you have some drinks, this and that. And I ain't really been, you know what I mean? Like, I got baptized at the beginning of this year. Yeah. And so many things just feel different. It was just a dead stop. Yeah. It was just a dead stop. Yeah. And then there's the things that I still struggle with, but I know I need to do better with. Yeah. And I try to, you know, keep my little list and check stuff off the list. And sometimes I'm amazing. And other times I need to tighten up.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, when you said you were baptized and things are just different now, it reminds me of like God's restoration power. Like in that moment, he restored you. Right. And so you've been going on this path since. And I kind of I want you to share the experience of the baptism, because that was also the same day we did the manifestation party.
It was so crazy.
And so you had a lot of hoorah going at the same time. And so I want you to share that, like share what it was like, what you felt like when it was done, because I think there's a lot of people who thought about being baptized and they don't really know like the significance in it or understand what it can do for them.
So, I was baptized as a child. It was not my choice. Yeah. And you know, once I got to the point where I was not necessarily questioning God, but questioning God. Mm-hmm. I went on like my own pursuit of religion and looking at different religions, because this can't be the religious form. You know, the one that was chosen for me can't be it, because you know, I was just in my feelings essentially. And I go on my little search, and I end up some way somehow right back where I was. Mm-hmm. And so for me, getting baptized was important because it was my choice this time. And so because it was my choice and I'm embracing it and I'm owning it as something I want to do, I don't know how I felt as a kid when if I'm being honest, I don't even remember it.
Yeah. You just know it happened.
I know it happened. Yeah. But this time, it being a decision of mine and me making a conscious effort to be a better version of me every day, I feel like it had a heavy weight for me, the whole baptism thing. And it was something that I wanted to do. And, you know, the time I thought I was going to do it, I didn't get it done. And you know what I mean? And then I was mad at myself because they stopped baptisms for the rest of the year. And I was like, well, you know, and then I'm like, well, maybe God don't want me.
I remember you said that.
Like he don't want me to.
Baptism, so it's not going to be on this date. I was like, okay.
My timing. I be struggling with my timing. Yeah. And, you know, when they brought it back, I said, I don't care what day it's on, I'm doing it. Yeah. And I misread our email. Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm thinking, you know, I'm like, wait a minute. And it wasn't even that I misread the email. I read last year's email.
You read last
year's email was, and I was like, well, you changed the date. And he was like, no, I didn't. Yeah. And so I had to go back and look, and I was like, well, this is how it's supposed to be. I'm just going to be rushing. Yeah. And when I got there, it was I was by myself. Obviously, I had to be there before, like you could have family and stuff come, but I had to be there like an hour before everybody. And it was just like this pit in my throat. And I didn't really know why, but it was this pit in my throat. I was overwhelmed I woke up in tears. I don't know what's wrong with me. They ain't happy tears, but they ain't mad. They ain't sad tears. They just tears. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really understand why I was feeling so overwhelmed. And so, you know, we get there and we go, you gotta go check in. I'll be damned, my name wasn't on the list.
Your name wasn't on the list for baptism?
It was not. We had to do a Zoom call before, you know, and I signed into the Zoom, and my daughter got in a car accident while I'm on the Zoom.
I remember.
So I missed the part where they said, put your name in the chat so that we can, you know, make sure your name is on the list.
I see.
So I missed that part because I was answering my chat. And so I get there. Here I go again. God don't want me.
Like, it must be me.
Like, he don't want me. What you mean my name on the sheet? Because I literally was losing it at that point.
Yeah.
She was like, calm down. The lady who was checking, she was like, whoa. And I was like, okay. And she was like, she checked with the other people because there were other people at the table. My name just was not on the list. And so she was like, she was like, it's okay. I'm going to add your name to the list. Yeah. She was like, you're going to get baptized today. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And she's like, what's your shirt size? And she was like, you just won't get your certificate today. I didn't know there was a certificate in the mix because, again, I answered my kids, so I was half paying attention.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I just ain't gonna get a certificate today. Got it. No big deal.
Right.
So now I'm a little relieved, and then they get up and they start talking and they're explaining to us what's about to happen and what their symbol, how it's symbolized, at church or whatever. And I'm standing there, and again, here I go fighting back tears, and I don't even know why. And there's this little old lady standing next to me. Mm-hmm. And she just says, you have such a beautiful spirit.
Oh.
And she just kind of, if I'm about to cry, you can't touch me because it's going to be a fire hydrant, right? So I'm doing this way. I'm trying to keep it together. And she's like, you have such a beautiful spirit. And she just put a little arm on me and just waterworks. And as that's happening, he's basically saying that what you're doing today is signifying your rebirth. It's signifying everything that's holding you back, everything that you've done, everything that you're holding on to that you need to let go. Yes. He was like, when you come up out of that water, it stays there.
Yes.
And so there were things that I was, there were things that I was holding on to. Like, think about it. I went through a divorce. Yeah. I had resentful feelings that, even things that I didn't even realize were residual resentful feelings.
Yeah, and they were just carrying.
Yeah, and just traumas in different areas because of it that I didn't necessarily recognize.
Yeah, your move, your relocation, your
all of the things. Just everything over the last, I would say, 10 years was just swirling, and it was piled up. And I definitely needed a release. And so while I complain about vulnerability and what I don't like, what I've noticed is that I've noticed these key times in my life where vulnerability crept in and I had some kind of fire hydrant waterworks. Yeah. And then, but I felt lighter and I left something behind each time. And so now, now my daughter is there and she knows something's wrong. Like she can see it on my face. She's like, you okay? No. Why not? I don't know. I have no idea.
But one thing you do know is when you release, you were lighter.
Yes, I was. Yeah. And I told her, I've been overwhelmed all day and I don't really know why. And, and she was like, it's just God talking to you. It's okay. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, it's just God talking to me. And I'm
Listen, the kids got to be the parents sometimes
I'm telling you, because I was struggling.
Yes.
And so she, you could have one family member come with you. Obviously my sister lives here, so her and her kids came. Mm-hmm. And, it was nice to have the support.
Yeah.
But I was going to do it whether whether anybody was there or not.
This train was going to keep on moving.
It was. Yes. But it was nice to have the support and know that they were there. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of put us in line and we're walking and my little one is, next to me. And so I give her my phone and I'm taking off my shoes and stuff. And she's like, you got this, mommy.
Yes, yes.
And so, she videos me, walking in and getting and the whole thing happening. And, they pray in your ear and kind of, whisper to you. And then, he was like the pastor who was on the podium talking, who said, you leaving everything behind. Mm-hmm. He was like, remember what I said? Leave it in the water. And they dunked me in the water and I came back up. And again, I'm just feeling lighter, but I'm shaking. Yeah. I don't know why, but I'm shaking and I feel lighter. And it was beautiful. I don't know what else to call it. It was beautiful. It was this big old moment that took 2 seconds.
Right.
And then it was just like, what was I overwhelmed about?
What was the problem?
Right. What was going on? Yeah. Why was I all emotional?
Yeah, but that was good though.
And it was.
And then so you're on this journey, you feeling restored. Tell us about how do you stay there? Because I feel like there's a lot of moments where, we go through things and we get so excited. Like we'll go to the conferences, we'll go to church, we hear the wonderful messages, and we get all excited, right? And then we go home. We stay excited for about maybe a week, few days. And then you kind of go back to the old ways or go back to the old you or how you was feeling, right? How has it been like on your journey since that experience? You've been restored. You're walking in God's restoration. How do you stay in that?
I think it's I say my prayers, right? But I say a particular prayer, every day, and it's not, it doesn't sound like I'm an evangelist, but it's literally like, thank you for waking me up.
Yeah.
Keep my mind at ease.
Yeah.
Keep my mind at peace. Please keep me in my joy.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for whatever I'm thankful for at that time.
Yeah.
And I repent for the sins that I've committed both knowingly and unknowingly. And I just ask him to guide me for his will to be done. Order my steps so that I'm in alignment with where you want me to be. And that prayer particularly comes about 3 times a day, that particular prayer.
Mm-hmm.
225 is one of those times.
225.
That's an alarm set on my phone. 1111 is twice a day set on my phone.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter what I'm in the midst of when it does not matter. I could be in mid conversation, but if that alarm goes off, I hit you with the
like, wait a minute, it's 1 second.
Yeah. And I say my little prayer and then I'd be like, carry on.
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes people be like,
wait,
like, girl, don't worry about it.
Right.
Like, it's okay. Like,
and they feel look crazy.
And I'm okay looking crazy because at this point, it's not negotiable.
Yeah. I hope this session blessed you. I hope this whole episode just had so many nuggets that it blessed you. If you found this a blessing, I would tell you to like, comment, and share. I do read the comments. I want to make sure this blesses your life. And also, too, continue to watch our very next episodes. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcast. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Listen Now, Pod Addict, whatever it is that you listen to your podcasts, we're there. Just look up 225 Moments with me, MNicole. And don't forget to set your alarm. This time, you're setting your alarm for God to be in cruise control of your life. And I pray that it bless you. Have a wonderful day.